Hello, welcome back. So today I'm super excited because I'm actually going to Japan in a few weeks, and before I go I want to make a couple new pieces for my wardrobe because I'm trying to bring a capsule wardrobe since I'm going for a while. So I want to be able to mix and match all of my outfits, and I feel like there's a few things that I don't have that I'd really like to be able to bring. So the first thing that I'm going to be working on is I'm going to make an A-line wool skirt. So I have this fabric that I really like. It's like pink and blue and purple. I think it's super pretty and light, and I think it'll be really nice for springtime. So I'm going to make a maxi A-line wool skirt. I'm gonna line it with some light like silk that I got. It's lightweight, so it's not great for other things, but I think it'll work really well as a lining because it has that kind of like slick feeling, and then that way it'll be all natural materials, so that would be really nice. And then to make my pattern, I basically just took this skirt that I love. I showed it in my last video, but it's pleated, so I laid it out and I took a pin and I inserted in all along where the waistband meets because I knew it needed to have this curve to it. I know what a skirt pattern looks like, I just haven't made one before. And then when I did the A-line, I flared it out so that the pleats were all stretched out, and I marked that on my paper, and it turned out looking like this. I don't know if you can see the whole thing, but I think it looks really nice, and hopefully this will be enough of a curve here going up so you can see my little pin dots where I plotted it out. And then I'll be cutting this skirt on the bias, so that should give me a little bit of a forgiveness in terms of the exact fit. That's why I was okay with just kind of winging it, since it's going to stretch out anyways and it should lay really nicely. The wool is pretty light with weave, so I think it should still drape really well. And yeah, I'm super excited. I did run into like a little bit of a problem when I was trying to map this out on my fabric, because there's actually a little hole in the wool because I thrifted this, so that's not unusual, you know. I have no idea how old it is. I did wash it before I started. I just put it in some cold water with some shampoo, and then I rinsed it, and then I put it in, I let it soak in a little bit of conditioner. So it's nice and clean, and I let it dry overnight, so I'm not worried about it being dirty or anything like that. But it has a hole in it, so figuring out how to do the bias cut was really difficult. I'll put a frame in of the layout because I needed to make sure that I could avoid that hole while still being able to lay the pattern pieces out in a way that like is possible, since I don't have that much of this fabric. Again, it was thrifted, so I couldn't just like buy how much I needed. I kind of had to just make it work, and luckily I did. It all worked out, and I'm able to cut it out with that hole actually right on a cut line. If I wouldn't have been able to avoid it, I definitely still would have made my skirt the way I wanted to, and I probably would have tried to add like maybe a little embroidery detail to mend that hole up, which could still have been cute, like maybe a little white flower or something like that is like on a, because it would have been like very close to the hip area on the side right by a seam. So I think it still would have worked out. I definitely had a plan in case I couldn't make it work, but I did it. I managed to have it happen. I do think it will have to be a little bit shorter than I originally planned, because I didn't include seam allowance on this bottom edge of my pattern. I was going to just give myself a couple inches to cut it, but now it'll have to be a little bit shorter than I wanted. Otherwise, that hole definitely would have been in there. So it's not the worst thing. I think it's all going to work out fine anyways, but yeah, so I'm going to get to cutting this out, and then we can talk a little bit how I'm planning on putting it together with the lining and things like that, because I don't have a serger. So I either have to overlock my seams just with using my regular sewing machine and the cover stitch option, or I kind of thought about doing some Hong Kong seams, which is where you sew the lining to the fabric at 1/4 inch, and then you turn it all inside out. So then you assemble a skirt with the lining already attached, and it like you do it so that the lining has extra and it folds around the outside edges of the wool. So then when you sew the wool skirt together, all of the seams inside are already covered by the lining. I thought about doing that, but honestly, I think I want this to be more of a simple project. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is just doing that cover stitch on the wool edges. Looking at this fabric already, like it's not really fraying. You know, this is the cut edge of the fabric. So I think just having those stitches there to kind of keep things together should be fine. I'm probably never going to wash this in a machine. It will always be hand washed just because it's made of wool and silk. And then for the lining, I'll just do French seams for that because I'm comfortable doing those. And then I'll just attach the lining to the waistband, kind of like a bag style. I also want my skirt to have pockets, so I will cut some out that are as big enough to fit my phone. Probably won't ever put my phone in them, but I want them to be there just in case I ever want to. And then, oh, I'll be putting in an invisible zipper in the side seam. So my front and back pieces are going to be identical, and I think that'll be fine because I'm going to attach them to a waistband, and the bias will help things kind of stretched out, and then I'll level the hem at the end. So I'm not too worried about them being different. It's kind of a bummer though that it has to be shorter than I wanted, but I mean, I don't have as much fabric, so you gotta adapt. I wonder if maybe I'll think about it. If I have scraps later in the future, maybe I won't be doing this for this part, but it would be kind of cute to put like a flounce or something at the bottom. I'll think about it. Maybe it's already cut on the bias, so it won't really work out. But like with the, if I have enough scraps to put like a little ruffle or a little edge to lengthen the skirt, maybe I'll think about that for the future. We'll see. Either way, it's all gonna work out just fine. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, invisible zipper, pockets, lining, waistband. I've done these things before, so I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll be really fun. So I'm gonna get to laying this out, and then I will show you what that looks like. Bye. Okay. Oh my goodness. Sorry for this terrible lighting. That took way longer than I thought it was going to. I definitely ran into a bit of a kerfuffle with my pattern matching. So unfortunately, when I tested to see if I could avoid that little hole, I didn't use my ruler to double check the grain line, so I was kind of just like guessing it based off of the plaid. But the wool that I have, the plaid, it doesn't go in both directions. Like the grain and or the warp and the weft are not the same. So I had to get a little creative. I decided to actually do a 4-panel skirt. Usually with the bias cut wool skirts, there's only 2 pieces, a front and a back, and they're cut on the fold. But because my pattern pieces were having trouble laying out, and because the warp and the weft are different, I kind of wanted to get those like really clean diagonal lines, so I decided to cut it in 4. Okay, so as you can see, I have it laid out on the floor here, and I'm gonna get this like really nice diagonals. I think I'm gonna do this one for the front and then have the opposite way going up the back. I'm pretty sure that's how I want it. I could change my mind, but oh, actually no, I'm definitely gonna do it that way because oh my goodness, I had it all planned out, and then when I went to cut it, I cut the hem like 1 centimeter longer than I had planned to. And because of that, and also because I was trying to do a lot of pattern matching, after all, I ended up with a corner that didn't work out. So I'm gonna have I'm just gonna piece this on. I decided I think I would prefer to have it pieced and still have it the length that I want, and yeah, be able to do the pattern matching was more important to me at this point, because right now with the way I have it, it should like all line up so nicely, and I think that'll look really beautiful. So it was worth it to piece the quarter, and because this is so lightweight, I'm hoping I'll just be able to press it and you won't really be able to tell. I'll sew it right along one of the plaid lines. So that is my goal. Oh my goodness, it's late now. This took me so much longer than I thought it would, but that's okay. I mean, I think it'll be worth it in the end. This lighting is not the greatest, but it's what I have to work with. Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I think I'm going to try to get some of these seams sewn today. So I'll try to film some of it. We'll see how much I get to it. I'm at least going to do the center seams for the front and the back. And probably overlock all the edges. That takes a really long time and it's boring. So I'll probably get all of the edges finished with the seams. Oh, I still have to cut out the waistband. I forgot about that part. That's okay. I have plenty of fabric left over. It's just my pattern pieces were so big. It was really difficult to get it all cut out properly without having to piece that little corner. But it's okay. You know, these little things are what make handmade items special. So probably only I'll really even know it's there. And if anyone notices, it'll be like a little secret tidbit. Okay. A little update. It is the next day and I got quite a bit done last night. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself and I think it's going along so well. So here it is. I got all of the seams stitched together and I installed the zipper, which did give me a little bit of trouble. I had to unpick it a little bit, unfortunately, because I was trying to get it closer to the edge because it's an invisible zipper. So I was trying to stitch like as close to this as possible and it worked fine the first side, but when I did the second side, I zipped it up to try to get down farther past the zipper end, and I accidentally stitched the two sides of the fabric together like through here, and oh my gosh, they were such tiny stitches. It took me forever to pick them up. But it's okay, I fixed it, and I just raised up the stop a little bit, which is fine. But yeah, I think it's looking so cute. I'll give it a little try on. It doesn't have a waistband yet, so I'm going to do that today before I let it hang for a couple days. I'm not going to cut the lining on the bias because it's so lightweight. It's like so thin and nice. I don't think it will matter at all, and I think that this will really stretch out on the bias a lot. So this will just get cut on the straight grain. Plus, this is like my lining silk. I bought this specifically for lining things, so I want to save as much of it as possible because I'm also going to hopefully use it for the pants that I'm going to make later in the video. So this should hopefully be good lining for both of those things. Super stoked about that. Yeah, and let's see. Here's my little piece thing I did. I think it turned out really well. It's not perfect, but I feel like when I'm wearing it, you know, it won't be super noticeable, and you know, it's kind of charming. It's fine, whatever. But yeah, I'm feeling super proud of it. The pattern matching on the front worked out really nicely, and on the back, I was super happy with that. I was a little nervous because the wool kind of like, since it's thicker and I wasn't using a walking foot on my sewing machine, it felt like the under fabric, the one that was on the teeth, wanted to like move faster than the over fabric, but I adjusted the way I was pushing it through. So I think I got it pretty perfect. It's not 100% in every single spot, like up here it starts to separate a little bit, but that's okay. Little things. The overall look of it is super good, so very happy about that, and I think it is so pretty. I just need to get the waistband on, so I'll give it a little try on and let you see. Okay, so this is what I've got. It's a little bit loose at the waist, but I think once I add the waistband and things get folded over multiple times, it should be pretty perfect. So yeah, I can't wait to see how it like relaxes after sitting for a little while, but even just as it is, I really love it. The only thing is there's like a little bump right here at the end of my zipper, which is fine. It's not like the end of the world or anything. I wish it wasn't there, but I don't feel like there's much I can do about it now. Plus, I'm just being extra picky because I made it. I'm sure if this was something that I bought, I wouldn't even think about it twice. But yeah, cute. Okay, so it's been a few days since I last checked in. I actually went on a little trip to visit some friends. So while I was gone, I let the skirt hang so that it could stretch out along the bias as much as it was going to. And I do think that the drape looks nicer now than it did before I left. I will say that it didn't really stretch out much. So I don't think I'm actually going to adjust the hem at all. I think I'm just going to do a quick little fold over hem as is. I might try to do a blind hem, but I'm going to look into that a little bit. So also the other thing is that I decided not to put pockets in this skirt because I decided that I think it would really impact the way it laid on the hips, and I really like the way that it lays right now, so I don't really want to mess with it. And honestly, like, I don't really use the pockets in my skirts that much anyways. I almost always have a bag with me to carry things, so I don't think I'll miss them that much. Yeah, the other thing that I've worked on since my last update was that I've almost finished putting in a lining. I'm really happy with it. I think it looks really nice. So I used that silk I showed earlier, and it's almost done. The side seams, I cut this lining in 2 instead of in 4 pieces. So the side seams are French seams, like so. And then I haven't hemmed it just yet, but I'm hoping to finish that up tonight. And then here at the top, I just have it pinned in so far. I'm going to sew it on, but I have the split for the zipper, just a quick little folded hem edge on both sides, like so. And I'm going to stitch this in by just laying that grosgrain ribbon over top right here, and then stitching in the ditch along the waistband, and then doing a little top stitch along the top of the waistband as well. I think that the ribbon will be more comfortable against my skin, and this silk feels so nice. I don't want there to be like any itchiness at the top if I ever wear it against my skin, even though I usually end up tucking in a shirt into these types of skirts, but you know, this way I have the versatility. Yeah, I'm super happy with it. The silk was surprisingly easy to sew. It did not give me any troubles at all, even though it's super thin and flippy, and it's super soft, so I'm really happy with it. I think it's looking really good, and I think I'll get it finished up tonight. The only things I have to do after I do the 2 hems and the waistband, finish the waistband on the inside, is just add a buttonhole and a button to these 2 flaps, which to finish the edges of these, I'm just going to fold them over like so, and then top stitch that ribbon over the edge and finish it off right here. So I think everything will be really cute in the end. And then tomorrow, when the lighting is better, because right now it's nighttime, I will show you the drape and everything of the finished skirt. Super happy with it. This is going to be so freaking cute. Even though it has its quirks, I think it's pretty much exactly what I wanted. So yeah, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so I am in a new place today. I'm hoping the audio sounds good. This is a beautiful house with very high ceilings, so it might be a bit echoey, and I don't have any of my equipment because I've actually gone out of town with some friends, and we're on a little trip. So while they're out doing some other things, I'm gonna spend some time sewing here so that I can get all of my projects done before I go to Japan in 5 days. So I really gotta get cracking. Luckily, I was able to work on my mock-up before I came. So I was able to follow along with this amazing tutorial. I'm going to link her page below, and I'll show the exact video that I used because I've never made pants before. And I was really nervous about the fit. I almost bought a pattern, but I decided not to because I figured that I really like drafting things for my personal measurements, and I really want to get better at pattern drafting. So this was a really great exercise in watching her do it and I just followed along with all of my personal measurements, and then I made my mock-up. So I have those here, and they're so ugly, but that's okay, because, you know, it was my first try, and I wasn't trying to make them look nice at all. But I have my little mock-up. I'll show better videos of me wearing them, but there was definitely some issues. So, first of all, the back, I had like some weird sagging on the back seam, which is not cute at all, and not what I was going for. So I Googled it, and I learned that I needed to do a scoop adjustment in the back seam. So I'll show what that looks like in case anybody else ever has the same problem. I'll turn these inside out. So basically what I had to do was take, let's see, dun, dun, dun. This is my original stitch line right here with like even seam allowance, and I had to like cut out extra right here at the curve. And I think what had happened was I accidentally just made it a little too shallow in general the first time when I was drawing that curve, because I don't have actual dressmaking rulers. I have one that's like kind of a wannabe art ruler, and I use it for most of my curves, which is fine usually, but I do think in this case I accidentally made this a little too shallow. So I deepened that curve a lot, and I also think this has gotten stretched out because I wasn't being very careful when I cut this mock-up fabric out, and it's like just like a polyester bed sheet. I've been using it for ever now. Every time I need to make a mock-up, I use this stuff because I don't know what else to do with it. I might as well reuse it for something, I guess, even though it's polyester. So yeah, other than that, I think that overall I just needed a little bit more ease in the waist and in general in the hip, because especially once I took out some of the fabric that was bunching up extra here, it made the hips here even tighter. And I also noticed that when I was wearing, or when I, how did I do it? Oh, what I had to do was, when I first sewed the pockets in, they were, where were they at? They were, I think they were tighter. Yeah. When I first sewed the pockets in, this space here was narrower. And I actually had to cut it out and readjust where the pocket ended because it was like bagging open here on the edge. So I like unpicked that and then put them on and then placed them where they needed to go to fit correctly. But I noticed that when I did that, a lot of the pocket was getting pulled out because the pants were a little too tight. So I was having like these like really big drag lines here. And you can see that in the little video I'll post of the fitting. So when I corrected my mock-up, I added, when I corrected my pattern, I added another centimeter on each side and then plus a little extra more, I think. Because I think one of the problems for me is that this video, while it was really great, it was all in centimeters. And I'm really not used to sewing with a centimeter seam allowance because that's narrower than I usually do. I feel like I really like to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So this time when I made my pattern, I actually cut it out with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. But then I realized that because I'm following a tutorial, some of the places like along the front middle seam, those areas, like I kind of had to use the centimeter seam allowance, and I didn't readjust that after I had cut it out. I just went with it and was like kind of hoping for the best. I honestly think it turned out really well. I'm hoping. I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I definitely added a little bit more ease throughout the whole thing, and I think they'll fit a little bit better because this right now is like exactly my tightest waist measurement, and that's just not very comfortable, right? We have to like live and breathe in our clothes, so I think they'll look a lot better once they're a little roomier, because these are supposed to be, you know, wide. They're supposed to be wide-legged. They're not supposed to fit super tight across the bum and all that. But yeah, we're all really stoked with how it turned out. I think that this was like a really good experience to do the mock-up. I definitely messed things up. So I'll tell you a little bit about that, because maybe if you want to follow along this tutorial, it'll know what like I struggled with. The first thing is that when I did the pleats, I was supposed to stitch them like, so this is my pants pattern. When you make the pleats, you have to and they're mapped out like a normal dart, but you don't sew along the dart edges, which is fine. I didn't expect to do that, but basically what I did do was I folded and ironed along the pleat right here, right? Like where you would normally have the edges of your fabric come together. And then instead of stitching it like this, that's what I did the first time. I accidentally stitched it like you would a normal dart. So I stitched it like down the 2 inches, and then I realized that when I was looking at my pants on my mock-up, the pleats weren't correct. They were like because you want your pleat to be folded over and having that sharp edge at the front. That's what makes it look right. And I kind of fixed it by re-ironing the line, because what I was actually supposed to do was take this seam, it's not a seam, sorry, this pleat, this ironed edge, and I was supposed to fold it like this, with this seam as the middle, and then stitch down the folded piece. So that definitely tripped me up at first, but on the second one, I think I will know what to expect, so I can fix that and do it properly. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a pitfall. The other thing I did that was really funny is that since I wasn't paying super attention on these, and when I re-ironed it, I think I could have fixed it. Yeah, I could have done it correctly. When I re-ironed it, I ironed the pleats both going this way. So like this side points towards the center and this side points towards the edge. So they're both going the same direction. And I could fix that on this if I wanted to by just like fixing the ironing, because technically I did it kind of weird. But on the real pants, you can't fix the ironing because you're stitching it down that way properly. So make sure you check the direction of which way you want your pleats to be going. Yeah, other than that, I think everything went pretty smoothly. It's my first time using any interfacing, so that was kind of fun and nerve-wracking. I did get glue on my iron, so that kind of was a bummer, but I cleaned it off, luckily. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I was originally going to use a lining in this fabric. So my fabric I picked out is this really beautiful wool twill, and I think it's so lovely. This is what it looks like. It has a really subtle twill weave to it, and the right side has like more twill to it than the back. This one just looks kind of like soft and fluffy. So because it's wool, I was originally going to put a lining in the pants so that it's nice and soft. I was going to use the same lining as my skirt, but I think I'm actually might just not do that, because after touching it so much and working with it, it really doesn't feel itchy to me at all. And what I think I might do instead is make a little pair of underpants. It's like if you made the lining, but they're removable, right? So I think I might just make slip pants. So that way I could wear them under other things probably, and it would be really easy to wash, because I don't want to wash my wool pants unless I need to. If you had owned wool before, you'll probably know that like you really don't have to wash it that often compared to other fabrics, because it's naturally antimicrobial and it really doesn't smell. I do use a wool conditioner that makes things really soft, so that helped honestly, because when I first got this, I thought it was too itchy, and then I let it soak for like 30 minutes in this really great wool conditioner with lanolin in it, and it made it feel so much nicer. So I'm really happy about that. So I don't think I'll be opposed to washing them at all, but I just think that with the interfacing, I'm nervous about that part, or like how that'll do getting wet and stuff like that. I don't know. I've never used interfacing before. I used cotton interfacing. I did not buy a like non-woven polyester. I bought a woven cotton interfacing. So I hope that will help a little bit with everything staying nicely in place. But it does kind of bother me. Like you can see it in here. You can definitely see it. Like it's part of the pants. So that's what it is. I understand why it's necessary. It definitely makes everything have a lot more structure in the front. Yeah, so I think that's it. I did film a little bit of the construction For my pants, they're coming along really well. I need to put the waistband on, which I'm nervous about because I'm worried that like at this last final leg, I'm gonna mess up the measurements or something and they'll be too big. But I think they'll probably be okay. Yeah, I didn't film a whole lot of the process because I mean, like I said, I just followed a YouTube tutorial. So highly recommend her channel. Again, link below. And you can watch her do it 100 times better than I can. I just figured I'd come on and share my experience with it and talk about the things that I've struggled with because I've never sewn pants before. But honestly, as long as you've sewn before, if you know the ins and outs of your machine, then following this video tutorial was incredibly easy. She really lays out every single step that you need to take, even though she doesn't overly describe it, and I was really thrilled. So yeah, but I have a few days left to get these finished, and I'm going to try to do that today. So I'm super excited. I think they look really cute. I've always wanted some pants like this, and it's hard to find them that fit me perfectly and in the materials that I prefer, so being able to just make them myself in a couple of days. Well, the mock-up took me 2 days, and then I started sewing the pants yesterday. So yeah, that's where we're at. And honestly, this fabric has been an absolute dream to sew with. I was gonna overlock my edges, but like you can see here on my cut fabric, like it doesn't even fray. I feel like there's no need to overlock them. I mean, I don't have an overlocker. I have a like overlock stitch on my sewing machine, so it's not as good. I was playing around with the different stitches, and I really like the way this one looks. I think that looks cleaner, and it does have the like stitch along the edge to totally stop fraying. But I do think that maybe this one's better for like actual threads coming out because it does the like little knots across the edge, but it looks so much uglier. So I did end up using this one for the fly where it says to overlock it, but honestly I kind of wish I just wouldn't have because I think it looks nicer without the overlock stitching. But it's okay. I guess this area will probably get a lot of like movement, so it's good to have it extra secure. This isn't a real zipper that I use in my mock-up. It's the little bit that I cut off of my skirt. So yeah, there's no actual zipper in here. When I was trying it on, I just used safety pins to hold it together. I just wanted to practice putting the zipper in, and I'm honestly really proud of myself. I think it turned out so nice, and especially on my finished one. It looks really good. And I'll be able to take them on my trip, which is coming so soon. I can't even believe it. I'm gonna have so much fun, but I've never been out of the country before, so it's gonna be quite the adventure for me. Yeah, I'll see you soon. This is the first version of my mock-up. It definitely has some fit issues. The waist is super tight because I accidentally made it to my exact measurement, so while technically it fits, it's definitely not comfortable for everyday life. And there's some unfortunate things happening on the back seam that I kind of mentioned before, and this is before I fixed those. You can also see on the pockets that there's like all of these drag lines pulling out towards the hip because it's pretty tight, like right down across the hip. But other than that, I really like the silhouette. I think it's looking really cute, and I definitely think I can move forward with the pattern that I made, with just making some adjustments on paper and hoping for the best that I know what I'm doing. I think that once it's in a heavier fabric, the drape is going to look really nice. So here's the same mock-up after I made some adjustments. I pulled that lining out of the pocket to widen the hip, and it helps a lot, but it definitely looks funny now because it's all pointing towards this tension on the seam where it gets tight again. So once that actual side seam is widened, I think that won't have any issues at all. Yeah, you can see where it's just eating up too much of the fabric that is supposed to be inside the pockets. Yeah, I'm really excited. The back looks much better after I did the scoop adjustment. It's still not perfect, especially in this really wrinkly fabric, but I think once it's in a heavyweight, it's gonna look so cute. I'm really excited. I've got everything laid out with my paper patterns. I managed to fit everything on the same width of fabric, barely. You can see my tiny cutting allowance right there. And how super close together these pattern pieces are, but it all worked out.
for the best because I can save as much fabric as possible. Teeny bit of space in between these two pieces. But this wool is so delicious. And I'm sewing at a friend's house who has a big husky puppy, so I think there's going to be some permanent white hairs intermingled in my wool because it's so grippy, but that's okay. I have it marked here with white chalk, and that worked really well. But I marked the pleat spots with pins just in case so that I don't lose any important markings. Luckily, the inside of my fabric, aka the outside, should be pretty clean still. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch all this up, and then we'll see how they turned out. My beautiful creations. I am totally obsessed with both of these. I know I'm gonna love wearing them in Japan. I think they are the perfect style and the perfect fit and exactly what I've been looking for. My beautiful pants are perfectly tailored, if I do say so myself. I think they fit me perfectly. I love the pleats. I think they're very elegant, and the fabric drape is so nice. I had to sacrifice a button off one of my favorite coats, but it was well worth it because I think it looks so good with this navy blue color. And my pretty skirt, I'm so happy with everything, all my choices that I made going into it. The lining is silky smooth and so nice. And while it didn't stretch out as much as I hoped it would on the bias, I still think that it has a fair amount of playful swishing as I walk, and I think it's a perfect length. All in all, I'm super happy.